Welcome to our channel. Today we delve into the darkest corners of human history to uncover the most horrific deaths ever recorded. Throughout the ages, the human story has been punctuated by moments of unimaginable suffering, times when the curtain between life and death has been ripped asunder, revealing the raw vulnerability that lies at the heart of our existence. These are not mere stories, but echoes of the past, reminding us of the fragility of life and the brutal realities that our ancestors faced. Death, the inevitable end that awaits us all, can be a peaceful transition, a gentle slipping away from the world of the living. Yet, throughout history, there have been deaths that defy such serenity, deaths that stand as grim reminders of the capricious and often brutal nature of our world. These are not mere statistics, not simply names etched onto cold stone monuments. They are stories, tales of suffering and resilience, of terror and despair that have resonated through the ages. From ancient times to the modern era, the tapestry of human history is interwoven with threads of tragedy. Kings and queens, paupers and peasants all have fallen victim to the cruel hand of fate. Some met their end swiftly, while others endured agonizing ordeals, their final moments etched into the annals of time. Few figures in history embody the concept of a horrific death quite like Grigory Rasputin, the Siberian mystic who held the Russian court in his thrall. A man of contradictions, he was revered by some as a holy man, a starets with the power to heal, while others saw him as a charlatan, a debauched figure who wielded undue influence over the Tsarina Alexandra.
In the twilight of the Romanov dynasty, as Russia teetered on the brink of revolution, a conspiracy was hatched to eliminate the enigmatic Rasputin. On a frigid December night in 1916, he was lured to the Moika Palace, the residence of Prince Felix Yusupov, one of his most vocal detractors.
There, amidst opulent surroundings, a macabre plot unfolded. Rasputin was first offered poisoned cakes and wine, but to the conspirators' astonishment, he seemed unfazed. The poison, a lethal dose of cyanide, seemed to have no effect on the mystic. Desperation grew among the conspirators as Rasputin, seemingly invincible, continued to consume the poisoned treats. Unnerved but determined, Yusupov took a more direct approach, firing his pistol into Rasputin's chest. The impact sent the mystic crashing to the floor, seemingly lifeless. Believing their gruesome task complete, the conspirators prepared to dispose of the body. However, in a scene ripped straight from a Gothic novel, Rasputin stirred. He rose from the floor, his eyes blazing with a terrifying light, and lunged at his would-be assassins. A struggle ensued, a desperate fight for survival against overwhelming odds. Shots rang out, echoing through the palace as Rasputin, his body riddled with bullets, was finally subdued. Even in death, Rasputin's story took another dark turn. His body, wrapped in a carpet, was disposed of in the icy waters of the Neva River. When he was finally recovered, an autopsy revealed water in his lungs, suggesting that he was still alive when he was thrown into the river, his final moments spent struggling for air beneath the icy surface.
William Wallace, the name echoes through the annals of Scottish history, a symbol of unwavering courage and fierce resistance against English rule. A warrior and a patriot, Wallace rallied his countrymen against the oppressive rule of King Edward I of England, his name becoming synonymous with Scottish pride and the fight for freedom.
Wallace's rebellion, though ultimately unsuccessful, struck a chord of fear in the heart of the English monarchy. He became a prize to be captured, a threat to be neutralized at any cost. In 1305, Wallace was betrayed by a Scottish knight in English service and handed over to Edward's forces.
His capture marked the beginning of his agonizing end. Transported to London, Wallace was subjected to a show trial, a kangaroo court designed to break his spirit and serve as a warning to any who dared challenge English authority.
Charged with treason, a crime he vehemently denied, Wallace was denied even the semblance of a fair hearing. He was found guilty, as was a foregone conclusion, and condemned to death by hanging, drawing, and quartering, a punishment reserved for the most heinous of criminals.
On August 23, 1305, Wallace met his gruesome end. Dragged through the streets of London, he was hanged until near death, a spectacle of suffering for the baying crowds. Cut down while still clinging to life, he endured the agonizing pain of disembowelment. His entrails burned before his eyes.
Finally, his broken body was beheaded, his head impaled on a pike and displayed on London Bridge as a grisly warning to all who dared defy the English crown. Wallace's death, though undeniably horrific, served to further ignite the flames of Scottish resistance, cementing his status as a martyr for his cause.
The Romanov dynasty, rulers of Russia for over 3 centuries, met a cataclysmic end in the fires of revolution. Tsar Nicholas II, the last of his line, inherited a nation on the brink of collapse, burdened by social unrest, economic inequality, and the devastating impact of World War I.
As the war dragged on, discontent among the Russian populace reached a fever pitch. The Tsar, perceived as weak and out of touch, became a lightning rod for the people's anger. In February 1917, revolution erupted on the streets of Petrograd, forcing Nicholas's abdication and ushering in a new era of uncertainty for Russia.
The Tsar and his family, now prisoners of the provisional government, were moved to the Siberian city of Ekaterinburg, their fate hanging precariously in the balance. As the Bolsheviks, led by the ruthless Vladimir Lenin, tightened their grip on power, the decision was made to eliminate the Romanovs, erasing the last vestiges of the Tsarist regime.
On the night of July 17, 1918, the Romanov family, along with their loyal retainers, were awakened and led to the basement of the Ipatiev house, the building that had served as their prison. There, in a cramped, dimly lit room, they met their horrific end.
A detachment of Bolshevik soldiers, their faces hardened by revolution and fear, lined up before the terrified family. Nicholas, holding his young son Alexei in his arms, barely had time to utter a word before the gunfire erupted. The Tsarina and her 4 daughters, Olga, Tatiana, Maria, and Anastasia, huddled together, their cries drowned out by the deafening roar of the weapons.
The execution was chaotic, brutal, and merciless. When the smoke cleared, the floor of the basement was littered with the bodies of the Romanov family, their blood staining the floor crimson. The news of the massacre sent shockwaves through Russia and the world, marking a gruesome turning point in the Russian Revolution.
The Black Death, a terrifying plague that swept across Europe in the mid-14th century, stands as a chilling testament to the indiscriminate fury of nature. Born in the shadowy corners of Asia, the plague, carried by fleas that infested black rats, travelled along trade routes, silently and relentlessly making its way westward.
In the autumn of 1347, the plague arrived on European shores, its arrival heralding a period of unimaginable suffering and death. Cities, once teeming with life and commerce, became breeding grounds for the pestilence. The sick died quickly, often within days of exhibiting symptoms. The plague spared no one, rich or poor, young or old, all fell victim to its gruesome embrace.
Doctors, overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the outbreak, were powerless to stop its spread. Their treatments, often based on superstition and outdated medical knowledge, proved woefully inadequate against the invisible enemy that stalked the land.
The symptoms of the Black Death were as terrifying as they were swift. Swollen lymph nodes known as buboes erupted on the victim's neck, armpits, and groin, grotesquely disfiguring their bodies. Fever raged, racking their bodies with chills and sweats. Internal bleeding, a horrifying symptom of the disease, caused blood to seep from their mouths, noses, and even their eyes.
As the plague tightened its grip, fear and paranoia gripped the populace. People, desperate to escape the contagion, abandoned their homes and loved ones, fleeing to the countryside, only to find that death was their constant companion. Mass graves, filled with the hastily buried bodies of the plague's victims, became a grimly familiar sight.
The Black Death raged for 5 long years, leaving an estimated 25 million people dead in its wake. It reshaped the social and economic landscape of Europe, its impact felt for generations to come. The Black Death stands as a stark reminder of the fragility of human existence and the devastating power of nature's wrath. Thank you for watching. If you found this video intriguing, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into history's most chilling events. From the poisoned cakes of Rasputin's Last Supper to the echoing gunshots in the Ipatiev house basement, these stories remind us that death, in all its forms, has shaped the course of human history. The individuals we've explored met their end in ways that are difficult to comprehend, their stories serving as stark reminders of the fragility of life and the ever-present shadow of mortality. By delving into these dark corners of the past, we gain a deeper understanding of the human condition, both its resilience and its vulnerability. Let us remember these stories not with morbid fascination, but with a sense of reflection and respect for those who came before us, for in their lives and their deaths, we find echoes of ourselves.